Toronto sweep?
No, I mean, as I said, I think it'll be a gentleman's sweep. I think Toronto will win this in 5. That was my pick when the playoffs started. I know Game 1 looked like they're kind of holding on there. They're maybe not lucky to win, but the Wizards played a little better. They could have lost that. But in Game 2, they looked a little better than Game 1, although there were also moments where the Wizards closed the gap when it looked like it could be a forget this game. The Wizards would tighten it up a little bit, but Toronto's just a better team. I think the Wizards are good enough to get one at home. But when you look at, Bradley Beal covering his head with the towel when Gortat and John Wall are bickering on the bench, you see, as I've been saying all along, the Wizards are less than the sum of their parts. They need to move either John Wall or Bradley Beal, and Stephen A. brought up identified the one they need to move, which is John Wall, because you probably get more for him. But this Wizards team is a dysfunctional group compared to their talent. And Toronto's the opposite. Toronto is greater than the sum of their parts. You don't look at Toronto as the most talented team. They have some talent, but their upper-end talent of DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, I've seen better. That's good. Those are all-star caliber players, not MVP caliber players. But the bench is so deep. They're coached so well. They play with an idea on offense, cohesively on defense. They communicate well. Toronto is the most complete team in the East. That's why I'm picking them to get out.
No.
I think the Wizards will win at least one at home. This is Toronto in 5.
Well, let me say this to you. The Wizards might get swept. They've got to win Game 3. They don't win Game 3 on Friday. This series is over Sunday. They're going to get swept out of the building. They got to win Game 3. It's just that simple. This season is on the line. That's number one. Number two, so much for the debate about Beal or Wall, who's your better player, whatever the case may be. But when I talk about moving John Wall, it's because you can get incredible value for him because he's the best player on the Wizards. It's not to denigrate him in any way. He showed up last night. He didn't have much help. And the help that he did get came from Ty Lawson, who was playing his first game with the Wizards because he was in the damn G League. Meanwhile, you've got a guy like Bradley Beal, incredibly nice guy, really good shooter, etc. I don't know what the hell has happened to him. You know why his face was covered in that towel? It wasn't because those guys were arguing and he wanted to be distant from that. It's because, I'm sorry, Ty Lawson was in China. I apologize, not the G League. But getting back to Beal, the bottom line is, why this man had the towel covering his head, Max Kellerman? It wasn't because they were arguing on the bench. It's because Beal knew he was playing like garbage. 3 for 11 shooting, 9 points. You're the $138 million man. You simply cannot perform like that when the engine for the Toronto Raptors is DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. You've got to show up and embrace a challenge like that. Even Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum wasn't this bad against Drew Holiday and Rondo. I mean, Wall showed up, but Beal was a no-show. They were a minus 34 with him on the court. A minus 34. They need to look up the stats in terms of how bad that is for a player. One of the worst plus minuses we have seen. It is inexcusable. Not to mention the fact that there are fourth quarters where there's virtual no-shows by him. There's no excuse for all of this. If they get bounced out in 5, like you said, Max, Ernie Grunfeld has got to make a trade. One of them have to go. I'm not a proponent of Wall being gone because he's box office in D.C. and he's their best player. The problem is if Beal looks like this in these moments, what kind of value can you get in return for him? That's where it becomes problematic,
Well, I wonder,
which is why
Stephen A.
you're forced to consider making other moves.